Christopher Leffingwell passes away in 1810. After the war, he is appointed by President George Washington to be the port officer of Norwich, Connecticut. He then starts an insurance company in Norwich as well. And then Jedediah Huntington passes away in 1818. He is appointed by President Washington to be the U.S. Customs Officer for New London in 1789. Christopher Leffingwell wrote him a glowing letter of recommendation. Jedediah Huntington's living in New London at the time, so he's not living in his Norwich house, he's living in New London. The New London house doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, it was demolished around the 1950s, so not that long ago. This is what it looked like. Anybody recognize this street? This is Huntington Avenue. And this leads you down to right around the corner here. You're going to run into the Guard. Yeah. So there's a lot of Greek Revival buildings here. They're lawyers' offices now. That's where Jedediah Huntington's home was. It was essentially a replica of Mount Vernon. It was a Mount Vernon style home. And it doesn't exist anymore. Tony D's restaurant is right on the corner here. And his parking lot is where the house was. And then there's Fiddleheads, there's the hot dog place. That's where his home used to be. Someone got really mad at me. They thought that I was insinuating Fiddleheads had something to do with the demoing of the home. I said, no, please, that is not the case at all. I put this slide in here specifically as sort of a plug for historic preservation, which is incredibly important, and you would be surprised at how difficult it is to convince people that historic preservation is important. But that's a topic for another lecture. These men, at the end of the day, were the 18th century community organizers. And according to the dictionary, a community organizer is a person whose job is to coordinate cooperative efforts and campaigning carried out by local residents to promote the interests of their community. I think that pretty much sums up exactly what the Sons of Liberty did. Whether it was tarring and feathering the British tax collectors like John Malcolm in Boston, or whether it was burning of the HMS Gaspé in 1772 in Rhode Island, or whether it was literally signing a Declaration of Independence, declaring yourself independent and free from the British government, something that would have been seen as an act of treason in the eyes of the British. I always love asking this question to the audience. What side would you choose? Because guess what? Another common misconception is that everybody was all thinking the same things. It's not true. You got maybe, I don't know, 20 to, let's say a third of the people are the fervent revolutionaries. You know, they're the really patriotic ones that want to secede from England. And then you've got another 30% that are the loyalists. You know, they want compromise. They don't want to separate. And so then you've got, so what is that? You got 30 and 60. Then you've got maybe 40 to 50% of the people in the middle, and they're the ones that maybe don't know exactly which side to choose. They're not quite sure. Which is better, to be ruled by one tyrant 3,000 miles away, or by 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? Anybody remember where that comes from? Comes from this guy. Anybody recognize him? Yeah. Anybody seen the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson playing Benjamin Martin? It's the inspiration behind Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox of South Carolina. He said, this was a line he said in the movie, but this line was actually said by a real person. It was said by this man, Reverend Mather Byles. Reverend Mather Byles was a fierce loyalist. And he wrote a lot of different commentary about this whole question of should we separate or should we not? So, a little nod to Hollywood and history. So now we're wrapping up, and thank you so much. This has gone on much longer than I normally do for these presentations, so I appreciate your patience. Nowadays, we still celebrate the spirit of the revolution in Norwich, and so you'll have to come for one of our events. In fact, you should all come for our event on May 6th, because we will be on the Norwich Town Green all day doing live historical reenactments. You can even, I think you'll even be able to purchase some colonial chocolate. If our chocolate's here, we'll be there. But we're going to have a lot of events going on with living history reenactments on the Norwich Town Green on May 6th. It's coming right up. What is it, next Saturday? Yeah, next Saturday. So Man, that's not going to bother me. But I will be there in my dressed up, probably as Colonel John Durkee in my replica regimentals that I've acquired, so you'll have to come and check us out. But yes, all of you are certainly invited. Tell your friends and tell your family, please. Here's a couple images of some graves. There's John Durkee's grave in the Colonial Burying Ground of Norwich. And just across the way is the Huntington tomb, where Jedediah Huntington and his family members are buried as well. We just started a massive project in the burying ground. We're working with a company called Rediscover History, and they are restoring and resetting gravestones within the burying ground. So that they just started that project this week. They'll be there again this coming week. So that's been quite exciting to see as well. So a lot of interesting and exciting things happening in Norwich.